Today we're going to have some fun with adjectives. But before we do, we need to make something with origami. So with your origami paper, we're going to make something that's a lot like the box we've made before. Fold your paper in half so that it's a triangle, and then open it up. Now fold it in half the other way so that your creases that you make form an X. Now open your paper back up. With one of the corners, fold it to the very center of the X. Open and do the same thing for each of the four corners, folding them in to the center of the X and then unfolding. Okay, when you get all the way around, we're going to take the corner again and fold it past the X to the next crease that you see, like this. It's just like the box, isn't it? In fact, it's just like the box, except we're going to skip a few steps at the end. So on all four corners, you can fold your corner up to the creased line that's past the X. Looks familiar, right? Okay, the next step is to fold each corner to the nearest line, to the nearest crease, like this. And you'll do that for each of the four corners. Okay, now the difference with this is that we're not going to cut it this time. So now that you have these pieces folded, fold all of the corners in to the center, like this. Now, turn your paper over so that the folds are facing the table, and the part that's facing you is just a smooth piece of paper with, of course, all of the creases in it. Take each corner and fold it into the center of the X in the middle, like this. And do that for each of the four corners. So when you're finished with that part, it looks like this. Now you're going to fold this part in half, going this way. So instead of making a triangle, you're going to make a rectangle. Really crease those edges. And notice how in the middle there's this little flap on each side. Okay, open up that last fold you did that was turning it into a rectangle, and now fold it into a rectangle going the other way. So if you folded it this way first, now you're going to fold it this way. And crease your paper really good right there. Okay, now open it back up and have it so that this X is facing you. Put your finger down in the center so that it holds all of those corners together in the center. And pick up the sides like this. So that the corners come up to your finger. Just kind of bend the paper that way. Now, on the bottom where you have these squares, you can put your finger and your thumb in one of them, and your other finger and your other thumb in the other side, like this. And now when I turn it this way, I've made something called a fortune teller. But that's not what we're going to use ours for today. You see how you can open it to the side, and you can open it up and down. Isn't that cool? Okay, so what we're using ours for today is to come up with adjectives that mean the same thing. We're going to be discovering and thinking about synonyms. And synonyms are words that mean the same thing as another word. So, for instance, you could say the word smooth and the word slick are pretty similar in meaning. If something is smooth, it's often also usually slick. They don't mean exactly the same thing, but they're pretty close, aren't they? So for my example, and I show you how to use this fortune teller, I'm going to choose an adjective that I know has a good bit of synonyms. I'm going to choose the adjective small. So this is going to be my small synonym teller, using the word small. Now I'm going to think of synonyms for small and write them here. The first one I think of, maybe you thought of this one too, is tiny. Tiny. And notice how I wrote it so that it's facing this corner. Tiny. Can you think of any other ones? Any synonyms for small? Oh, I thought of one. What about little? Little. So we have tiny, little. What about short? Sometimes when you say something is small, you might mean that it's short. Oh, and let's use small, the word we started with. So we have small, tiny, little, and short. Now, I'm going to turn it over. this time, I'm going to write synonyms for short here. Let me think of some. Oh, what about puny? Or microscopic. Uh-oh, I ran out of room. Microscopic is a long word. So on this one where I have puny, I wrote it twice, here and here. These triangles that are on the same corner will get the same word. And then you turn it and I have microscopic and microscopic. What about teeny? Teeny is another word for small. Here's teeny. Oh, and minute. Okay, now we're going to open up one of the corners. And inside we're going to write even more synonyms. Can you think of any more words that mean small? What about minuscule? Minuscule. Or we can open up another one. Itty bitty. Or maybe we have, let's see, we have teeny, but we don't have teensy yet. And the last one, wee. That's not one we use as much anymore, but it is a word that means small. Now that you have your words in your synonym teller, let me show you how to use it. So fold it back up like this until you can put your fingers in it again. And you say, okay, I'm going to choose a word, one of these 4 words that I can see. I'm going to choose small. So you start S, M, A, L, L. And now you can see inside 4 different words that we also thought of. And you can choose one of those. I think I'll choose teeny. T E E N Y. And now I see even more words that we wrote. And I think this time I'll choose minute. And so I look and I open minute and I see itty bitty. Look at all of these words we thought of that are synonyms for small, that mean almost the same as the word small. I wonder how many of these you can make with different words. We've done one for small. Can you think of any other adjectives that you'd like to try? I can't wait to see what you do.